Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So, if you'd start the reading, Swayam, thank you.
Okay. Applying the law we dwelt upon under macrocosm, that each involution presupposes an evolution and each evolution an involution, we see that instinct is involved reason. What we call instinct in men or animals must therefore be involved, degenerated, voluntary actions, and voluntary actions are impossible without experience. Experience started that knowledge, and that knowledge is there. The fear of death, the duckling taking to the water, and all involuntary actions in the human being which have become instinctive are the result of past experiences. So far, we have proceeded very clearly, and so far, the latest science is with us. But here comes one more difficulty. The latest scientific men are coming back to the ancient sages, and as far as they have done so, there is perfect agreement. They admit that each man and each animal is born with a fund of experience, and that all these actions in the mind are the result of past experience. But what they ask is the use of saying that that experience belongs to the soul. Why not say it belongs to the body and the body alone? Why not say it is hereditary transmission? This is the last question. Why not say that all experience with which I am born is the resultant effect of all the past experience of my ancestors? The sum total of the experience from the little protoplasm up to the highest human being is in me, but it has come from body to body in the course of hereditary transmission. Where will the difficulty be? This question is very nice, and we admit some part of this hereditary transmission. How far? As far as furnishing the material. We, by our past actions, conform ourselves to a certain birth in a certain body, and only the suitable material for that body comes from the parents who have made themselves fit to have that soul as their offspring. The simple hereditary theory takes for granted the most astonishing proposition without any proof that mental experience can be recorded in matter, that mental experience can be involved in matter. When I look at you, in the lake of my mind, there is a wave. That wave subsides, but it remains in fine form as an impression. We understand a physical impression remaining in the body. But what proof is there for assuming that the mental impression can remain in the body, since the body goes to pieces? What carries it? Even granting it were possible for each mental impression to remain in the body, that every impression, beginning from the first man down to my father, was in my father's body, how could it be transmitted to me through the bioplasmic cell? How could that be? Because the father's body does not come to the child in toto. The same parents may have a number of children. Then, from this theory of hereditary transmission, where the impression and the impressed, that is to say, material, are one, it vigorously follows that by the birth of every child, the parents must lose a part of their own impressions. Or, if the parents should transmit the whole of their impressions, then after the birth of the first child, their minds would be a vacuum. Again, if in the bioplasmic cell the infinite amount of impressions from all time has entered, where and how is it? This is most impossible position. And until these physiologists can prove how and where those impressions live in that cell and what they mean by mental impression sleeping in the physical cell, their position cannot be taken for granted. So far, it is clear then that this impression is in the mind, that the mind comes to take its birth and rebirth and uses the material which is most proper for it, and that the mind which has made itself fit for only a particular kind of body will have to wait until it gets that material. This we understand. The theory then comes to this, that there is hereditary transmission so far as furnishing the material to the soul is concerned. But the soul migrates and manufactures body after body. And each thought we think, each deed we do, is stored in its fine forms, ready to spring up again and take a new shape. When I look at you, a wave arises in my mind. It dives down, as it were, and becomes finer and finer, but it does not die. It is ready to start up again as a wave in the shape of memory. So all these impressions are in my mind, and when I die, the resultant force of them will be upon me. A ball is here, and each one of us takes a mallet in his hands and strikes the ball from all sides. The ball goes up from point to point in the room, and when it reaches the door, it flies out. What does it carry out with it? The resultant of all these blows. That will give it its direction. So, what directs the soul when the body dies? The resultant, the sum total of all the works it has done, of the thoughts it has thought. If the resultant is such that it has to manufacture a new body for further experience, it will go to those parents who are ready to supply it with suitable material for that body. Thus, from body to body it will go, sometimes to a heaven and back again to earth, becoming man or some lower animal. This way it will go on until it has finished its experience and completed the circle. It then knows its own nature, knows what it is, and ignorance vanishes. Its powers become manifest. It becomes perfect. No more is there any necessity for the soul to work through physical bodies, nor is there any necessity for it to work through finer or mental bodies. It shines in its own light and is free, no more to be born, no more to die. We will not go now into the particulars of this, but I will bring before you one more point with regard to this theory of reincarnation. It is the theory that advances the freedom of the human soul. It is the one theory that does not lay the blame of all our weaknesses upon somebody else, which is a common human fallacy. We do not like to look at our own faults. The eyes do not see themselves, they see the eyes of everybody else. We human beings are very slow to recognize our own weakness, our own faults, so long as we can lay the blame upon somebody else. Men in general lay all the blame of life on their fellow men, or failing that, on God, or they conjure up a ghost and say it is fate. Where is fate and who is fate? We reap what we sow. We are the makers of our own fate. No one else has the blame. None has the praise. The wind is blowing. Those vessels whose sails are unfurled catch it and go forward on their way. But those which have their sails furled do not catch the wind. Is that the fault of the wind? Is it the fault of the merciful Father, whose wind of mercy is blowing without ceasing day and night, whose mercy knows no decay? Is it his fault that some of us are happy and some unhappy? We make our own destiny. His sun shines for the weak as well as the strong. His wind blows for the saint and sinner alike. He is the Lord of all, the Father of all, merciful and impartial. Do you mean to say that He, the Lord of creation, looks upon the petty things of our life in the same light as we do? What a degenerate idea of God that would be! We are like little puppies, making life and death struggles here, and foolishly thinking that even God Himself will take it as seriously as we do. He knows what the puppy's play means. Our attempts to lay the blame on Him, making Him the punisher and the rewarder, are only foolish. He neither punishes nor rewards any. His infinite mercy is open to everyone at all times, in all places, under all conditions, unfailing, unswerving. Upon us depends how we use it. Upon us depends how we utilize it. Blame neither man nor God, nor anyone else in the world. When you find yourselves suffering, blame yourselves and try to do better.
Okay, let's hold it right there. Now, the Swami has put forward this proposition that we are the makers of our own destiny. Are there any questions or concerns about that? I mean, he made quite a case, and that there is no other place. There is no other place to look for praising or blaming or saying rewards or punishments or somewhere else from somewhere else, anything at all from anyone.
I'm gonna have
Yes,
to.
yes,
Oh, go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
yes. This it seems to me conflicting with the concept that God is the only doer. Then how are we now?
The conflict is resolved, Robert, by acknowledging the deeper truth that we are the God.
Oh, okay.
We
All
are
right.
the Saguna Brahman.
I got it.
Okay, thank you. That was a very, very key point.
Yeah, got it.
It's not the small ego-centered self that is that. It is the Saguna Brahman, Atman.
Is that the level he's talking about? Or
Yes.
so we can't talk about, so, the plane on which we live day to day, we're not talking about that, and it would be irrelevant to talk about that right now.
Well, irrelevant in the sense that that is not where the doing comes from. It seems to us that it's where the doing comes from, but it is not. It comes from much deeper sources. These mental impressions. And so when something arises, we look at it and say, aha, there is that. And we may even say, oh, there is that again, because we continue to entertain or rehearse these aspects of ourselves that we believe are true, when in fact they are just something that arises and goes away. But because we continue to water it with our attention, it continues to arise. So and this is not an easy thing to resolve. This is why the Swami is giving such a long talk about it. But ultimately, it comes down to the fact that when the saying is said by saints of many traditions, not a leaf moves but by the will of God. It's not the human left brain will that is causing the wind to move and move that leaf. It's something more profound.
Yes, but I think what's in my mind about it, my left brain about it right now is the doing is done by Saguna Brahman or the divine or God. But did I use that term wrong?
No, that's right.
Oh, wait.
The doing is done by the action and experience suit,
No,
by the impulsion.
I wasn't finished with my, the doing, if presuming that we are not the doer, ultimately we're not the doer, but still all doing is in this material realm, and Brahman does the doing through us.
Yes,
Otherwise, there's no doing. I mean, if there was no material manifestation of beings, there would be nothing to do.
right, exactly.
So I think that I think that's what I'm thinking about, and what was in my mind when I originally unmuted my mic was just this whole idea, and I don't know if it fits in here or not, but this whole idea about how we aren't responsible because, not so much because we're not the doer. That's one thing. But the other thing is, we in this manifest reality are everything we do and everything that happens to us is a result of innumerable connections with other things in manifestation that God is poking around and having do things. But it's not just, even if you don't believe that, there's no way you can say, well, my world, my life is the way it is because of my work and my decisions and my whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
It's far vaster than that, which is why there is such a thing as mindfulness meditation, which takes us both backwards and forwards in terms of what we can know about what's happening and how soon our left mind is defeated in its ability to explain it all. It simply does not explain, it simply cannot explain all that is happening in this infinite reality. And therefore, what happens if you think about just the act of eating a banana, which is an exercise used in mindfulness meditation. And it soon defeats the left brain's ability to contain it all and explain it all. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Cindy. Anybody else?
Brother Shankara, I just want to clarify with you, is this our unripened ego is making us through gunas behave in certain ways? Is that,
well, the gunas make us behave in certain ways. Our unripe ego makes us think that we're doing it.
We're doing it. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that doubt I have. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Could we say or think or feel that we are doing, or we're having these incorrect thoughts because of our attachment to this physical stuff?
To our ignorance, yes.
Yeah, once we get into this physical stuff, then we can't see it as it really is.
Yes, and it is deeper than our outward directed reality, far deeper. And anyone who is an accomplished musician knows that they get into certain states of awareness where the music is flowing through them. They're not making any conscious decisions about how to do that. They may make at some point a decision about a key change or some such thing. But basically the music is simply flowing through them. They are an instrument for the creation of the music. And this is why Vivekananda says music is the highest form of art, and for those who understand it, the highest form of worship. because you can get into that state and be completely unconscious for a time of your action and experience suit as a thing doing something. It's just happening.
Yeah.
Anything else? And by the way, all of these explanations, all of them, even Swami Vivekananda's, are couched in language. Language is incapable of expressing the infinite dreamer that is dreaming this dream of finite reality. So no matter how well explained it is, one can always find a reason for concern or doubt. And so the thing to do is just say, well, I'm going to go with this and see what happens, or I'm not. And, a number of us are here this evening for the purpose of assimilating what will allow us to go along with this. Provisional. Ultimately, we'll come to our own explanation. Anything else from anyone?
So, even those who have taken a particular birth or manifestation in a body or a mind that is not yet ready to delve into this kind of thinking what we are doing at some point, and that may be due to that karmic I guess accounts. At some point they will get to a higher
This is what we're told. And Sri Ramakrishna is very, very explicit about it, that everything happens at the right time. And for each individual is somewhere on the spectrum between the darkest of ignorance and the most illumined condition of the soul. Somewhere on that spectrum. As Swami Brahmananda said, show me the line of demarcation where the world of matter ends and the world of spirit begins. His assertion that there is none. It's just a matter of how we are perceiving it. And our perception changes as our ignorance vanishes. And it vanishes little by little, sometimes in little bursts, but by and large, it vanishes little by little as Swami Sridharananda says, slowly and slowly, my dears. So this is why we must never judge anyone else. We have no idea what their real condition of awareness is and what they really believe and why they believe it. Thank you, Swayam. That was a very pertinent question. Anything else from anyone? Okay, somebody else is going to need to watch the clock as well as the reading. So Swayam, if there's no further questions or comments, then please read on.
Sure. So we are at the bottom of page 248. This is the only solution of the problem. Those that blame others, and alas, the number of them is increasing every day, are generally miserable with helpless brains. They have brought themselves to that pass through their own mistakes and blame others, But this does not alter their position. It does not serve them in any way. This attempt to throw the blame upon others only weakens them the more. Therefore, blame none for your faults. Stand upon your own feet and take the whole responsibility upon yourselves and say, this misery that I'm suffering is my own doing, and that very thing proves that it will have to be undone by me alone. That which I created, I can demolish. That which is created by someone else, I shall never be able to destroy. Therefore, stand up, be bold, be strong. Take the whole responsibility on your own shoulders and know that you are the creator of your own destiny. All the strength and is it succor? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Succor.
Succor. All the strength and succor you want is within yourselves.
Now, why? Because you are that which is the infinite dreamer that is dreaming this finite dream. So the power, it's so compelling because it's Brahman's dream. We are Brahman. We are Nirguna Brahman and we are Saguna Brahman or Saguna Atman. We are that which creates this, and we are that which will eventually we'll convince ourselves, well, since I'm doing this, I can stop. When you are truly tired of this, just sign off and head for home. And we each become tired of it at exactly the right moment, according to Sri Ramakrishna. And we begin to do what's necessary to head for home, which is the home is outside of time, space, and causation. Okay.
All the strength and succor you want is within yourselves. Therefore, make your own future. Let the dead past bury its dead. The infinite future is before you, and you must always remember that each word, thought, and deed lays up a store for you, and that as the bad thoughts and bad works are ready to spring upon you like tigers, so also there is the inspiring hope that good thoughts and good deeds are ready with the power of 100,000 angels to defend you always and forever. That's the end of the chapter.
That's the end of the chapter.
Yes.
Any comments or questions?
Yes, I would just like to say
Yes,
that
Aaron.
last line is extremely powerful.
Say it again, please.
Yes, I just wanted to say that last line was very, very potent and powerful.
Yes. The reason there are 100,000 angels to defend you is that you are those angels, as well as the demons that will try to, the tigers that will try to attack you. But Vivekananda's assertion always is that the light is stronger than the darkness. So, anything else from anyone? Thank you, Aaron.
We're all Dr. Jekylls and Mr. Hydes.
That I think is the point of that incredible story, yes. But we can stop drinking the potion, you know? We can stop drinking the potion that turns him into Mr. Hyde. And it's not easy. Otherwise, why would we gather here on a Wednesday evening?
Brother Shankara, it seems to me that the light and the darkness are equal, because both of them are God.
Well,
and how I don't see how God can be stronger on one side than on the other. It seems that it has to be equal.
well, Robert, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Because we look at certain things as being negative, and we look at other things as being positive, but they're neither. They just are, and they both come from the Creator. Like people, you know, when I'm talking sometime with people talk about the devil, and I believe, I tell them, I say there's no such thing as the devil. If there was a devil, then there couldn't be a God. You know, God is all of it. He doesn't share who he is with a negative being. What we see sometimes appear to us as negative, but we don't know the whole picture.
Thank you, Robert. That is certainly a very defensible position that you have just taken. In earlier talks in his description of Maya, in this Jnana Yoga, Vivekananda does assert that there is slightly more positive energy in universe than there is negative. And even the modern physicists will say that if there were exactly equivalent amounts of matter and antimatter, there would never have been manifestation. It would all have annihilated itself. And therefore, there is a small amount of more of that which creates matter than there was of antimatter. There's this slight imbalance. Now, there's all kinds of talk about the gunas and this and that and the other. We could go into that for hours. But Swami Prabhavananda used to say to us, it's a distinction without a difference. Just do your spiritual practices, and you will come to understand the nature of the divine, that living presence. So how can I possibly argue with you or even want to even think about that? Robert, of course you're right.
But I understood what you said, and I after you said it, I tend to agree with you. I think your point is more relevant than mine. I agree.
It seems to be in a realm beyond time, space, and causation of infinite possibility. How could either of us, as what was it St. Thomas Aquinas said, draw a circle around all that you know of creation? Draw a circle around all you know of creation, and God can barely fit a toe there.
Yeah,
So,
you have to be right there, because if there was a balance, when there's a balance, nothing happens.
yeah, exactly. So there has to be some sort of disequilibrium in the gunas.
Yeah, in order for action to take place.
Right. And
I
the
just,
assertion by Vivekananda, and of course many others, is that there's slightly more sattva than there is tamas and rajas.
Okay, I got it.
Thank you, Robert. Anybody else?
I was going to say that I thought what Robert said was, I was like looking today at a picture of Kali, the Divine Mother, and I was thinking how she looks only because of our ignorance, that she's really not fearsome and evil. So,
Well, that's exactly what Sri Ramakrishna says. She only looks black at a distance. If you come up close, and he uses the image of the sky looks blue at a distance, but if you look at it right in front of you, it has no color. And he also says if you look at the ocean waters, they seem to have a deep blue color. But if you pick it up in your hand, you see it has no color at all. So it's this nearness and accuracy of the perception that allows us to see that Mother has a fierce side and she has a benign side. And ultimately, this is the story of the Chandi. Ultimately, the benign side will overcome the dark side. But it says right in the very beginning, you are the great goddess as also the great demoness. You are the great Devi as also the great Asuri. Now, of course, this is just a way of trying to give us a metaphor for what we experience in time, space, and causation. But what we find is that once we learn the principles and practices of going beyond time and space and causation, that there is another different reality. That's what the topic of this Sunday's talk will be, sinking into silence. That within the silence, there is a different understanding. And it's spontaneous. And when one experiences it, it seems much more true than the thoughts and conceptualizations of what passes for our understanding. Anything else, dears?
Brother Shankara,
Yes,
think
please.
this is Haima.
Yes.
I think Scrooge seems to be a good example here too. He came to my mind. He could have stayed as bad person like he was, or because of the weekend retreat, he woke his Kundalini suddenly, and then he realized he transformed into a better person because of his own will. He could have stayed the same way as he was in the front of the beginning of the movie, and the end of the movie, he had transformed, woke that Kundalini in him, realized I need to change. It's my perception.
And what
Everything
does he
is.
say? What does he say? I am not the man I was.
Yes,
I am not
yes.
the man. I have
Exactly.
not taken leave of my senses, Bob, speaking to his clerk the morning after his experience.
That's right.
I have not taken leave of my senses, Bob. I have come to them.
Come to the
This is
senses.
exactly what Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutras.
That's right.
If we register the information accurately from our senses, which can only be done by purifying our preconceptions about what's coming in through the senses, then we see clearly.
I think the same way we all have choices too. We can, like I have diabetes. If I keep eating chocolate cake every single day, I'll be in the hospital right this next week.
Yes.
But if I limit myself, I know I'm getting tempted. I can't have this. I know it's difficult, but
Yeah.
I can only eat like once in a while. I would be moderating my life, move better in my life. So it's like my own choice. I have my choice to choose what I want to do. Like Vivekananda Swami said, you write your destiny. You know, you make your own destiny. Sometimes, a lot of times.
If you keep eating the chocolate cake, you will soon lose your feet.
I definitely will lose my feet.
And I know of an actual human experience.
Yes.
I knew the man. I knew him intimately. Very, very lovely man. Great musician. But he was not able to control his eating habits, and so it cost him.
I had a friend like that lost her leg, and without a leg, then she had to live for a while, and it's with the diabetes, uncontrollably eating habits. So we all have choices like life. Swami really laid it out.
And where do we get the energy and the strength to make the choices that will lead us more in a direction of brightness and happiness, real joy? Well, it's, as he said, it's right within us.
Self-realization.
And that's when we know what it is that silence within us is trying to tell us.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, dear. Anyone else?
I was just reading this poem, Brother Shankara, of Saint Teresa of Avila, I think, and there were a couple of lines in there that I think fits perfectly with the theme of today's chapter.
Yes.
I love these two stanzas there. One is, yes, overthrow any government inside that makes you weep. And the child blames the external and focuses his energies there. The warrior conquers the realms within and becomes gifted.
Yes. Becomes within the terms of that warriorhood invincible, because they have no fear of death. And they know that if they are killed in battle, it means nothing. Thank you, Swami. Those are very good, very applicable. And Saint Teresa of Avila, if you just read her work and that Love Poems from God, what a splendid understanding she came to. Anything else from anyone? All right, dears. Well, we'll take up chapter 13. What is the title of chapter 13?
Immortality.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's what happens to us when we take these things seriously. We stop having the idea of death. So next week we'll take up immortality. With any luck, I'll be feeling better. Certainly the doctors are doing everything they can to make that a reality. But this worked well enough tonight, so thank you for your reading, Swayam. Thank you last night to Haima for her reading of the mother's biography. So, oh, dearly beloved, who is the truth of our being, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. A flower at your feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this your jungle world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga, Durga, Durga. May you be safe. May we all be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. May we go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. So a great good night to all of you, and so sweet to be with you. Chapter 13, next Wednesday. Weather willing and the creek don't rise, as my grandmother used to say. Anything
you.
else from anyone?
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Wish you well.
Thank you all. Thank you everyone who was here. Whether you spoke or not, your energy was part of this. So I'm going to click the close meeting for all. Good night.
Good night.